Italy is a remarkably young modern nation, only achieving unification in 1861. Yet the peninsula it occupies has exerted a continuous, multi-millennial influence over the development of Western civilization. This visualization shows the scale of that output: 61 World Heritage Sites, more than any other country, packed into a landmass that currently supports the world's 8th largest economy. Grasping how such a young country commands this level of global authority requires looking past the idea of a single unified history. For most of its existence, Italy operated as a collection of fiercely independent and highly competitive city-states. By the 17th century, European aristocrats formalized this reality through the Grand Tour, traveling between the peninsula's legendary regional hubs to study their distinct architectures and local customs. Examining the specific economic and artistic ecosystems of these cities shows how isolated pockets of regional genius eventually merged into a unified cultural superpower. This 1890 photograph of the Colosseum captures the baseline of Western civilization. Through the Roman Empire, this city established the foundations of engineering, law, and language that governed the Mediterranean for centuries. The sheer geographic scale of Roman conquest enforced a standardized template for urban life, administration, and infrastructure across 3 continents. When the empire's military borders eventually dissolved in late antiquity, the city's geography remained central. Rome maintained its position as a seat of authority by grounding its influence in the rising religious and political power of the papacy. Through papal patronage, the church used its immense wealth to recruit the era's premier architects and artists, centralizing global talent within its walls. Even through centuries of barbarian invasions and political fragmentation, Rome preserved its status as a center of Western power. Its longevity is built on its capacity to ground institutional authority in whatever structure, imperial or religious, held the most influence at the time. To the north, the accumulation of wealth took a more commercial turn. Florence became a global center of silk, wool, and banking, creating the financial reserves necessary to support a total cultural shift. This localized capital allowed figures like Da Vinci and Michelangelo to move beyond medieval survivalism. They used that funding to investigate humanistic expression and the scientific principles that defined the Renaissance. That commitment to precision reached into the surrounding Tuscan countryside, where generations of labor refined agricultural techniques and artisanal manufacturing. This regional focus on localized, high-quality production birthed many of the world's culinary staples and established the foundations of the modern Mediterranean diet. Florence's lasting contribution was the idea that private capital should elevate human aesthetics, transforming the Tuscan lifestyle into a global standard for beauty. On the Adriatic coast, Venice exploited a strategic geographic monopoly over the sea, building an empire on maritime trade. During the Commercial Revolution, Venice acted as the primary gateway, controlling lucrative trade routes between Europe and the Far East. These profits financed unprecedented urban expansion in the lagoon and built naval fleets essential for the Crusades. The wealth generated by this aggressive, early capitalist mastery of global supply chains effectively bankrolled Italy's later cultural and artistic explosions. In the 20th century, that commercial drive shifted to the industrial north. Following World War II, Milan and Turin led a massive economic miracle, quickly building the second-largest manufacturing sector in Europe. This photograph of Enzo Ferrari represents the translation of Renaissance artisanship into modern industry. Post-war engineering firms applied the country's historical focus on craftsmanship directly to high-performance machinery. The resulting vehicles showed that Italian industrial design required more than pure function. This vintage Ferrari Formula One car demonstrates the country's insistence that elite mechanical engineering must be presented as visual art. This dominance in aesthetics extended to the garment industry. By the 1970s, Milan had emerged as the global epicenter for fashion, turning lifestyle and design into a premier national export. The same competitive intensity that drove the country's industrial growth also found a visceral outlet in its public life. This shot from a match against West Germany captures the fierce national passion that has made international football a central pillar of modern Italian identity. Milan and the North prove that Italy successfully converted its ancient obsession with beauty into a multi-trillion-dollar modern industrial complex. Viewed as a single, unified peninsula, Italy functions as a highly active economic ecosystem rather than a static museum. The country actively manages its heritage to support 57 million annual tourists, transforming its history into a vital component of a $2.7 trillion economy. This lifestyle is exported through the philosophy of la dolce vita, the sweet life. It is a national ethos that dictates that everyday objects and activities are incomplete unless they possess a certain level of aesthetic pleasure. This perspective provides the link between Roman architectural arches, the canvases of the Renaissance, and the design of modern supercars. Italy remains a cultural superpower because it convinced the rest of the world that engineering, commerce, and daily life require a relentless commitment to beauty.